Good morning, District 74. My name is Leeuw. I am standing in for Tim because I believe he's going to be able to make it. I'm standing in for as long as he has no connection at the moment. So I will just follow the program as we shared it with you. If you didn't receive it, please do advise, because there were documents that in the chat box, there were documents that were shared. Actually, Estelle, if you could please just put them in the chat box for anyone who might have not received it. This morning, we are talking judging. Judging, because contest season is upon us and we will do it right and we'll do it effectively and will be fair to all our contestants that participate. Today's structure is this. We'll go through theory. We'll have, for the prepared speech section, we will have someone who delivers a 5 to 7 minute speech. We will go into our various breakaway rooms, and in that we will go through the different elements of the judging ballot. You should have received it in the chat box. And when we go through the judging ballot, we'll talk about all the different elements that are in judging, and make sure that when we do leave here, we can speak to how we think about judging. Our numbers will never be the same because we are different people with different backgrounds, but as long as we can keep it fair. Then we will move from prepared speeches to the evaluations. There'll be a bit of theory, and then there will be a bit of theory. And with that, we will do the theory, and then someone will deliver an evaluation, and then we'll then go into our breakout rooms for 15 minutes and we'll do the presentations.
Quick points of order. Tim hasn't arrived just yet, but he did actually send us the slides. I have forwarded them to your Gmail. So if you are able to access that, then that will help.
Alrighty, let me download the slides. That's exciting, guys, that I have slides.
Woo!
Awesome stuff. All right, I've received them. I'll just share my screen. Makes it sorted. I should have had a separate screen. Yeah. Tell me if you can see the slides.
We can see it.
Perfect.
Yes, we can see them.
All right. So objectives of today: to train the participants to be effective judges. The difference, we learn the difference between evaluating and judging. And then forms and rules, so we'll go into all that. So Anke will just have 2 breakaway rooms if Tim doesn't show up or can't actually connect because he's having connectivity issues. So let's get going. If you have questions, please put it in the chat box, and Estelle, keep an eye on it for me so that I can then respond to any of the questions. Thank you so much. Right, and then judging procedures. Right. Yeah, I've spoken about the 3 elements: the international speech, evaluations, and table topics. So we will go into that and we'll look at the criteria. So I've mentioned that. Oh, and the most important thing, bring your views. And it's important because we have different views, we are different people, we have different backgrounds, and we need to take that into account as we judge, because our bias is based on our own experiences, and we need to just work through all that. Thank you so much. Right. Let's talk about the difference between judging. And I wanted to have all these things there because I think it's important that you see them and then we talk to them. Judging and evaluating. The biggest difference is this: when we are evaluating, we're giving the person giving speeches feedback. We're giving them feedback for growth. We're giving them feedback so that they can do better, and we want them to grow and develop, and we want to present that positive environment and give them recommendations they can go out and do the best that they can. when we do judging is to say, on the scale of 1 to 10, well, just hypothetically, I am looking at everybody and how they've performed based on the criteria, and I give them points. Here we are looking to find the best in the best on that particular day. So with evaluations, we're encouraging, we're motivating, and we're all that. With judging, we are looking for a winner. And that's why it's important when you are a judge in a contest, you remember the big rule, which is you are an anonymous person. Nobody needs to know that you're a judge. And the second thing, you don't go back to the contestant and say, you know, when you did this, you could have done this. You don't give feedback. You don't give feedback to anyone, because as a judge, you're anonymous, and and you can't actually give feedback to anyone. And your judging and your results are a secret. You don't tell anyone else besides the chief judge and the ballot counters. So that's the first thing. Okay, to be a judge, we all want to be a judge, right? We all want to be a judge. At club level, you're a paid up member. From area and above, this is for the international speech contest. From area and above, you're a paid up member, 1. You have completed level 1 and level 2 of any path, and you have been a member for minimum of 6 years, 6 months, 6 months. And you would need to fill out an eligibility form. During contest, you will get all these eligibility forms given to you by the chief judge so that you can fill them out, which will allow you to then be a member. You are signing that I'm a paid member, I've completed level 1 and level 2, and I've been a member for 6 months. We work on integrity, but we also check this on the eligibility assistant on the Toastmasters website. So that's the thing. For all the other contests, the evaluations and the table topics, you just need to be a paid up member. So evaluations and table topics are available for everyone. You should have fun with it, Contest is fun, participating is fun. So members of the club just gets to be, yeah, we need to be able to participate in a contest in one form or another as a participant or a role player. So being a judge would be exciting.
To listen from here, though I think that
I have sound coming through. Is it someone trying to add or ask a question?
I believe not. I have muted.
Thank you so much. Alrighty, Glenn. Okay. The AI of judging. You see, Tim is a very smart man. He has acronyms and stuff. So the AI, appropriateness and impartiality. Appropriateness, we are judging on the right things. We judge according to what's on the form instead of what we want, because we could bring in anything we want. Toastmasters gives us guidelines and we need to make sure that we're adhering to those elements, because each contest requires different things from us. I mean, in the international speech contest, humor is not something that we judge, but audience engagement is something we judge. So you need to then know the differences and know what we're looking for in each of the contests. Impartiality, it means that we need to be fair to every single contestant. If someone is your friend and you're very close, I mean, we are all friends, most of us in Toastmasters, but we need to always be impartial. So you can't actually be a judge in a contest where maybe your husband is participating, that's extreme bias, or your sister. So we have a list of different relationships that make it difficult for you to judge in the contest where the person is participating. So let's be impartial and yeah, and make sure that we do fair, we maintain fairness in our judging. Okay, appropriateness according to Tim, it must touch you, it must be, everything must fit together, not a good Toastmaster speech. Okay. I do not know. When in America, what you believe is the best. Okay. That you are correct. Okay. So okay, let's see. Let's go back to the slide. Okay. So let's talk to, let's talk to the fact that it's not just a good Toastmaster speech, it can win in America. Remember, with the international speech contest, what we are looking to do when people enter the contest is that they are looking to be the world champion of public speaking, which is something that Verity did last year. So it's not about just a good contest speech. It's not just about a good Toastmaster speech, but can it be related to from a different backgrounds, which is why it's important that when we do judge, we're looking at it from not just a South African perspective, but can it fit in any global space? So also remember, you are correct, whoever your choice may be. So because it's your opinion, it's your choice, it's subjective to your own experiences as a judge. Therefore, you will then, whatever your decision is, it's correct. You don't need to second guess yourself or ask someone else to, well, do you think this is right? No, it's about your experience, what you felt, what you heard, what you saw, and based on that, you give people points. That's important to note. On the evaluations, so sometimes, and I've seen this a number of times before, right, where someone has prepared an evaluation. This is a prepared evaluation, not really necessarily based on what someone has done. So they've prepared it, they've decided they're going to add these points, and it's a perfect evaluation. We need to make sure that the delivery or the message that they have put through is relevant to the speech that was delivered. My advice every time I do an evaluation contest judging is that I go through the process of doing the evaluation myself, meaning that I also pay attention and analyze it. It's not just about what the person does on stage, but it's also about what I have seen myself, and then I will note the things that they highlight that I took note of, and that sort of thing, so that I can see what the person is actually talking about was something that happened on the speech that was delivered. And then, all right, and then the technique of delivery. So remember, in Toastmasters, we are sensitive and we want to encourage people to come back and deliver speeches again. And so you can't just say, this was bad, this was bad, this was bad. You don't do that. You don't do that. We have different approaches, but it needs to be, the technique needs to be sensitive to the member, and also it needs to build. We're always building in Toastmasters. And then the big thing in an evaluation, one of the big things also is the summary. Did the person give us a summary at the end? Because it has a segment there where we have points for summary when we get to the evaluation sheet. Right. Right, so relationships, impartiality relationships with a contestant, family, partner, lover, boss, subordinate, any of that. Anything that makes you have conflict of interest, you need to disclose and recuse yourself from the contest. When we are doing area and above, it's a member of the same club also makes you impartial. Well, yeah, makes you not impartial, something English difficult. And so we are also looking out for that, but the same member of a club is something that as a chief judge will make sure we check on. Other things that could influence you. Remember, we are different people, we have different backgrounds. Some things, when someone is old, you have like, they're slow and you're biased against them, and you're like, so we need to keep all those things in check. And make sure that we are always fair and not biased when we deliver when we are judges, because we don't deliver anything. When we are judges, we are just impartial. We look at the speech delivery and the contents of the speech, and not any other thing outside of that speech. Right. Okay. Right, using the sheet. Tim said it's a brilliant sheet. I agree with him. So we use the criteria to help you deliver or conduct the judging. The judging sheet has at the back of it the descriptions of each and every criteria. If you have received it, you can see even in the international speech, there's something about speech development, appropriateness, and all those things. So you read each and every criteria so that when you are judging, you are aware of what each criteria means. So the first and last contestant. So sometimes, you know, when you're starting, your brain is engaged, you're starting the contest and you're judging for each and every one. And then by the time the last speaker, I mean, sometimes there'd be 10 speakers in the contest. By the time the last speaker comes, you are so exhausted, your brain, you've seen so many contestants and you are tired and you want to just get it done. Then we ask of you, when you are a judge, to please, please, please judge the first contestant and the last contestant and the middle contestant as the same, in the same manner. It's important that we are always fair to all these people, right? Some speeches are informational, some speeches are informative, some are entertaining. In the international speech contest, we need to be aware of that. They could be different things. However, we need to use the ballot sheet to make sure that we are giving people the kind of points that they deserve based on that delivery and the requirements of the ballot sheet. Timing. I mean, you've seen contests where you can clearly see the contestant has run over time and they're just going on and things like this, because you can see that the red light has been on for a while. What we ask of our judges is to do judging with and disregard timing, because timing has been taken care of by the timers, which is one of the criteria for disqualifications of contestants. So we're asking that the judges, even if you can see the time, ignore it and judge according to the delivery and nothing else. It's always advised when you get your ballot papers, put your signature on them immediately so that we don't then end up with a ballot sheet or a ballot, the bottom part, that doesn't actually have a signature and a name, which we cannot use then for the results, because we wouldn't know who then submitted all those things. Okay, we'll work with the ballot sheet when we get to it. All right. When you're a judge, there is a 1 minute of silence between the speakers. So that's when you do the evaluation criteria. Even if you're using your own mind to calculate, even if you don't get to do the totals in that 1 minute of silence, that's okay. You just fill in you give the numbers for each criteria, and then you can move on. And then at the end of the speech contest, when the last person has spoken, we will give you as much time as you need to do the calculations and make sure you know who's the first, second, and third place based on those numbers. And as a judge, you will have no ties. So at the end of the contest, you will have as much time as you need, but we need to run things quickly because we're in the virtual space. We don't want to lose people as we are doing our calculations. So we do as quickly as we can, but we give you enough time to get through the process of judging. And we will not put any judge under pressure to finish quicker. So you'll have enough time, as much time as you need at the end. In face-to-face meetings, we used to have envelopes, or you fold the ballot nicely and you give it to the telecounters or the ballot counters. In this virtual space, because all area to division to district contests will be online, there's the option of using the WhatsApp and WhatsApp groups, where you can submit the ballot on WhatsApp to the chief judge or the ballot counters, or however they want to do it. The second option is the Google Forms, where Toastmasters International has allowed us to use Google Forms to just submit the results and send it over. The other option was, what we used to do is put people in breakout rooms. I don't recommend that, because then people are coming in and out, and then it becomes obvious who the judges were. So I'd avoid that. The only time I'd say we put the judges in a breakout room is if we have a protest, where we have to then sit as judges to discuss whether or not the protest is valid and how we want to address it. So then that's the only time I'd encourage someone to use the breakout rooms with the judges. At the end of the contest, you would have beautiful numbers in either an Excel sheet or on a piece of paper. We ask that you destroy that information because nobody else needs to know how you judged. So get rid of the information and make sure that there's no way anyone else has access to how you have judged and what numbers and what points you allocated to each criteria. That's a no-no. We don't need that issue with judging. The other thing is you don't give advice to anybody. I've already highlighted that. The tiebreaker judge is not known. The tiebreaker judge is the judge that then if there's a tie when we're doing tally counting, when we've gotten all the judges ballots in and we've done all the calculations and we see, well, number 1, 2, and 3, there's a tie here. That's when we, either 1, 2, or 3, there's a tie. That's when we bring in the tiebreaker judge to then help us break that tie. That's the only time the tiebreaker judge is used, and the tiebreaker judge is not known to anyone else but the chief judge. Okay, so protests and disqualifications. In the contest environment, there are only two groups of people that can protest. It's the contestants, so the ones participating, delivering speeches, doing amazing things on stage, and the judges. No one else. You could have the IPDD or the most experienced Toastmaster that you know in the room, and they want to raise a protest. If they're not part of the judging panel or a contestant, their information cannot be included in a protest or disqualification. And then how we protest is you either raise it with the chief judge or the contest chair. The contestants are easily going to raise it with the contest chair because they have had briefings with the contest chair and they've had many engagements with them. So they'll either raise it with the contest chair. As a judge, because you're also anonymous, I think it's best that you raise your protest to the chief judge, because the chief judge will then know you are a judge. The contest chair will not know you're a judge. So you cannot actually go to the contest chair and say, I'm raising a protest, because the contest chair wouldn't know that you're a judge and they won't act on it. Because if they're doing their role correctly, it means that they would not then respond to anything from anyone that's not a contestant or a judge, but because they don't know who the judges are, they won't respond to you either, because they don't know whether you're a judge or not. So chief judge is your go-to person as a judge in the contest for protest. Timing is not your concern. I think it's important we always have to emphasize this. Judging is not your concern. So the things that we know, contestants can be disqualified for, or you can raise a protest for someone using outside material. So this is where you have quotes or speeches or whatever from other material outside that are not your own. That's 25% or more. That in an international speech, that's like just over 1.5 minutes. Where the contestant doesn't acknowledge their sources, but also there's also this criteria where a contestant refers to another contestant's speech or the contestant themselves. So it's important that you know those 3 things. Those are the only 3 things that we can use to disqualify or raise a protest for a contestant. And with all these things that we can raise as judges, it requires that we we sit as judges to then discuss if this is really something that is protest and requires disqualification. So even if you raise it as a judge, and it's not that when you raise it, it's final. No, it's not final. Then the judging panel needs to sit and discuss that specific item that was raised. And in so doing, then the decision needs to be made collectively. So the majority rule wins. Collectively, then the judges then come through and then decide whether it's a disqualification, or if it's not a disqualification, we continue with the contest as is, which then at that point, I mean, we would have brought in the contestant, they would have pleaded their case. So when we say someone is disqualified, that decision is final. We can't go back and forth about it. It's the decision is final, and we move on with the contest. I see Tim is here. I don't know if Tim wants to then go into the international speech contest, the ballot sheets and everything. Tim?
All right, thank you, Sanate.
And
you're going to operate the slides, are you?
I can operate the slides, or I can give you power to operate them. It's up to you.
Yeah, give me power, because I might, because I'll need the.
All right.
Now, what screen are you seeing? You're seeing the
Presenter view.
presenter view. Okay, let me change that. That means you're going to have me side on, I'm afraid. Is that better?
Not yet.
So is it still presenter view you're seeing?
Yes.
I've tried to swap them around. Swap presenter view and slideshow.
So
Maybe
I
you
think
have to stop your share and then swap it, and then start your share again.
Okay.
To start your presentation without sharing to start off with.
Okay, thank you, Anchor. So swap presenter view and slide view, and now I have a problem. I can't. Any better?
Now we're still seeing presenter view.
Yes,
I think let's not worry too much. So Nate, do you mind pulling up the slides again, and you can maybe just drive for the rest of this portion? We can maybe try again on the next section.
Okay, try that, because I got presenter view up here and I've got lots of notes, I'm afraid. And oh, that's.
So if you can make your notes visible to yourself, then she's sharing now.
Yes, but I can't see my notes, so I'm just going to have to wing it. So let's see how that goes. Anyway, before I start, let me apologize to everyone. I've had a breakdown of my computer, which I've never seen before, and everything has slowed down dramatically. You've seen how long it's taken me to reboot and come back in. So I don't know what's wrong with it, but I'll give it a good thrashing afterwards and see if I can sort it out. Okay, so we're now going to go on to the international speech contest, and and we're going to talk about the judging sheet. Okay, next slide, please. We're going to have a demonstration back a bit. We're going to have a demonstration speech which you will judge using all the information that has been given to you by Sanate so far, and some information I'm going to give you on the slide on the sheets. Then after that, you're going to go into a workshop in a breakaway room. Divide by 3. Everyone here would divide by 3, so it's 10 each. That's nice. And then you can discuss it, ask questions, and say what you think a certain line on that judging sheet should be. Remember, your opinion is what matters. You are right. Probably the first time in your life you are right whatever you do. So it's your opinion that we want to see here. Having done that, the facilitators will be making notes, or they may delegate it, and then you will we'll all come back in plenary and see what people were saying. Okay, next slide, please. This is the judging sheet. I was hoping to have a pointer, but of course I can't. So at the top you've got there the International Speech Contest, which is the official name. We all call it the English Prepared, but it's the official name is the International Speech Contest, which builds up to the World Championship of Public Speaking. Then the middle part, that is the judge's guide, where it's largely blue, that's the guide, and at the very bottom that is the ballot, which is what has to be submitted, which has your result on it. Next slide, please. I think there's one before. That's it. So this is the judging criteria. So this is what each line, this is an explanation of what to look for on each line of that judging sheet. And I urge you all to read this every time before a speech contest, so that you get a refresher of what to look for. I'm going to go through these each one at a time when we get to the portion on the judging sheet. Next slide, please. So this is the top of the judging sheet. So you can see judging items, those are the things below. You've got speech development, effectiveness, and speech value. And then moving across to the right, you've got suggested point values, and that's what the judging sheet is suggesting for excellent, very good, good, and fair. The percentages are different for each item, they're valued differently. Then after that, you see rows of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is where you put the contestants' names. Now, moving down to speech development. This is the quality of the speech itself. You want a title that arouses interest. You want an opening that generates excitement. What's this all about? What's going to happen now? Then you want a few points for the speech moving towards a conclusion with good transitions between each point. And then support material in the form of facts and figures, illustrations, examples, and anecdotes. Those are the kind of things to look for under speech development. Then we have effectiveness and effectiveness is how you're seeing how effective the speech is on the people in the audience, where you look at the audience and see, are they looking interested, nodding, giving good expressions, or are they bored? And make a judgment call of yourself of is he or she getting the point across? Now, speech value, this is for me the most important thing, and I wasn't able to express in the beginning, but what I've got here is a way of judging. This is what works for me, and what works for me with speech value is it's the most important thing, I think, and I mark it high and low. So if I think I get a feeling of so what at the end of the speech, I'm going to mark that low, like a 4 or a 5. But if it's wow, that's a good point, I'm taking that away with me, then I'm going to mark it with 11 or 12. So that's how I work on the content of the speech. Next slide, please. Have you changed it? So this is now delivery, and for delivery, it's really first of all physical. That's body language, and look for demonstrative body language, giving this size over there, and expressions on the face for emotional body language. Sort of, oh, I hated that. If you see that kind of thing, it's to be marked up. Eye contact with a online speech, very difficult. But if the person is clearly looking at the camera, then they've got at least good eye contact there. Voice wants to be clear, flexible, good vocal variety. And then manner, you want the person to be confident, you want them to be relating to the audience. Next one, please. Then appropriateness for language, language appropriateness. If it's highfalutin language, big words, don't like that. But if it's simple language which is clearly to understood, then that's what you should mark up on that one. Correctness, grammar, pronunciation, hyperbole. It's a word being used on TV recently, pronounced hyperbole, and if I heard that, I would mark that down with a minus, and a minus is a third, so it'd be minus a third if I heard a mispronunciation. But if it's all the way through things like that, then I would give it mark it down in points as well. But it is up to you. It's your view that we want. Next slide. The ballot is now at the bottom, and sorry, Sanati, could you go back to the previous slide? I can't show it, but alongside total score, 100 points possible, you see the totals. You put the totals in there, so you add up your points and put them in there, and the one with the most points is the winner, and the second place and the third place. Go to the next slide, please, Sanati. And there you would write the names in there. The judging sheet you'll see is a fillable PDF, so you can type the names in, first, second and third. Signature, I don't know if you've got set up a PDF signature, but if not, I don't think it's important so long as the message comes through. Now how you send that, the way I've done it in a meeting, obviously, is with a face-to-face meeting. Obviously, you tear the slip off and put it in an envelope and send that in. With online contests, then of what we have been set up to do has been to take a photograph of it and WhatsApp it in. But they're looking at using Google Forms in the future. That will be decided on the day, so you don't have to worry about that process until the day, and that will be explained to you then. Next slide, please. Tie-breaking judge was mentioned. Somebody wanted to know what one looks like. This form is exactly the same as the main form, but the tie-breaking judge has to judge all of the contestants. So if you've got 10 contestants, the tie-breaking judge has to put them in order. And then that is used to break a tie that could occur with the other ballots that have gone in. Okay, next slide, please. Oh yes, a sequence of assigning scores. This is what I do. After 2 to 3 minutes, the delivery is generally established, and so I judge their delivery after 2 or 3 minutes. If it changes, then I will change the score. It's only ever happened to me once where a change occurred when someone put on a red nose in the middle of a speech, and it was very effective, so I changed that delivery. Then after 3 or 4 minutes, I make a judgment of the language. Then after 4 or 5 minutes, maybe till the end, but how effective is it? Is the point coming across? And then at the very end, I do firstly speech development, because you have to hear the whole speech for that, and then last speech value. If I do it that way, you've got a little bit of time to space your judging. It's not everybody's way. I know somebody very well who says no, they want to wait till the end of the speech and then they do their judging. But it's up to you. Whatever works for you. Next one, please. Now we're going to go into a workshop. We're going to watch a demonstration speech. There's a word called straight. Yes, I don't know what's happened here. So straight, I don't know where that came from. So it's watch a demonstration speech and you judge it. You will then be sent to a breakaway room. Don't go with your friends. You go where you're sent. And we want to hear your view. Don't be shy. Ask questions, but we want to hear what you thought about that speech, and that's what matters, your view. Facilitator will help you. Don't repeat a point. Just say, I agree with that point, but don't go repeat it. Facilitator will go through the judging sheet item by item, and then they will make notes so they can give us all the feedback at the end. They may delegate it. If you'd like a job of making notes and reporting back, then please volunteer, but otherwise the facilitator will do it. Ah, yes, I thought there was more. Please be firm. The facilitator will be firm with people who are talking too much, and please support the facilitator. And then there'll be feedback in plenary afterwards. I believe that's it.
Thank you so much, Tim. Ditsego is now going to deliver her prepared speech for us. It is her icebreaker that she reworked into a competition speech. So the title of her speech is All About Me, Ditsego Kekana, All About Me. Please help me welcome her to the virtual stage.
Hey, good morning, everyone, Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and guests. My topic today is all about myself. I chose this speech title because I do not like to talk about myself. And here I find myself talking about myself. My name is Ditsego Kekana. I'm married. I have two wonderful daughters, a 12-year-old and a 9-year-old. I live in Pretoria, and I used to work in Midrand. I have to mention used to work in Midrand, as we recently moved offices to Pretoria. And this is my greatest joy, because it's just a 7-minute drive compared to the 1.5-hour drive to Midrand. So for that, I am truly grateful. It makes a huge difference in my life being a taxi driver to my kids. As for me, I'm a quiet and reserved person, and I'd rather sit and listen to other people talk. If I had a label on my forehead, it would read extreme introvert in big, red, bold capital letters. In my dreams, I still have the strong belief that I should have been a psychologist. Dr. Kekana doesn't sound so bad. Or maybe somewhere in human resources, maybe even Pastor Kekana, or maybe a scientist stuck in a lab the whole day, all by myself, studying specimen, but none of these. In reality, I'm a training consultant, meaning I cannot be the quiet and reserved person that I enjoy being. I have to engage with people on a daily basis. I have to educate and lead groups of people, young and old, different personalities, and from different walks of life. I still get stage fright. I freeze every time I get up and train, even though I've been doing it for 2 years. So I guess that requires me to be prepared always. When it comes to the subject matter, I also have to be spontaneous sometimes when it comes to small talk, because it cannot be strictly technical. I have to have adequate communication and leadership skills to effectively manage those groups. And honestly, I do not think I have mastered those skills, as I still have a lot of self-doubt when it comes to standing in front of a group. And yes, recently with the lockdown, to put my camera on and engage. Add to that, I have to think about other elements, such as the camera angle. Is it okay? The lighting, can you see me? My background, is the mess hidden? Okay. Is my voice projecting? Are people walking in and out of class without my knowledge? Are people bored? Am I making sense? These are some of the things I have to keep in mind. Well, when I'm not at work or cooking or spending time with my family, I try to be an artist. I play with paint and brushes, and the canvas takes me to that place once again where I can dream and dream and allow myself to be, where I can just allow myself to just be. But back to reality, I wish to be a better speaker, a communicator, a better facilitator, and really have the confidence at work as well as on a personal level, be it social or at family gatherings. That is why I have joined Toastmasters. I'm hoping that with time, the label on my forehead would not read extreme introvert in big, red, bold capital letters, but in smaller brown letters like my skin, so that they are invisible. They say slowly is the fastest way to get there. I will get there one day. Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Ditsehu. Life of Introvert, amazingly done. Anke will now help us go to breakout rooms where we can discuss Ditsehu's speech. Thank you so much, Anke. Welcome back, everybody. And we will now have the feedback session. Sinati, would you like to start with us?
Righty, thank you so much, Estelle. And thank you to the group of people I was in the room with. It's just been amazing sharing that experience with you. Somebody said I was brilliant. Oh my gosh. I love feedback. I love positive feedback more. Anyway, so we went through a lot of the criteria on the evaluation sheet. We only got to physical for discussion, because we don't have a lot of time. But I think the principle that we're developing there is looking at each and every item as an individual item and not being influenced by every other thing. Because one of the things that we're talking about is how we're talking about the physical, and then physical then went into, but her voice and her confidence. So then we worked through each item and getting the thinking that each item stands on its own and we need to give a points according to each item. So it was a great discussion with the team. They felt that the speech was amazing. So guys, if she was a contestant, she would get really good points for speech development, because then the flow was the team felt the flow was great. She developed the introduction, the body, and she built up to why she then joined Toastmasters. And then the effectiveness, she was effective in sharing her message and getting the points across. They loved how her logic flowed and her why in delivering the speech. And then on the physical, that's where there were points where that the points were much lower, which is because the camera angle wasn't clear and she actually didn't use the space very well. So we got to there, and then there was the vocal variety aspect, which related to the fact that his voice was the same across. The points would have been lower there. That's as far as we got, Tim. So I don't know who wants to go next. Rebecca, do you want to share how it went in your session?
I must say, I think for us, time was not enough, and Duro wanted to actually give feedback, but I will actually give feedback. In terms of the speech development, for us, we felt that the structure of the speech could have been, different, because it seemed a little bit disconnected at some stage. So remember that structure, organization, and support of the material is very important. And the physical, we felt that, the speaker did not use the physical very well. There was too much space in between. We are not giving feedback, but I will give that as an extra. As a result, we couldn't actually see, how the hands were done, and we are doing that as the speaker. The manner, there was assurance that, the speaker was comfortable, the speaker was calm. So yes, we would have actually rated the speaker very well on that. And we were able to also relate with the speaker. And we felt 10 minutes is not enough. I hope we can actually adjust so that we can do certain things and combine them when we do table topics. I am just saying. Over to you, Tim.
Okay, thank you. Now, we had an interesting part on speech development where we had disagreement. The disagreement was on the backing the support material. That the one person felt the support material was fine, and somebody else said no. And this was very important. I stress that your own opinion is what matters here. You are voting for yourself. If you go away with nothing else, you must remember you are an independent judge and your opinion is what's required. So we stress that there. I think everything else has been covered except possibly language. Someone felt the language was excellent in that it was not flowery. It was clear and to be understood. And so they're marked up on that one, but the monotone, it was reduced because of the monotone. So we all left a happy, contented lot. Good. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your feedback. We will now move over to the theory of the evaluation with Tim. Thank you, Tim.
Okay, so if you can bring up. Okay, let's have the next slide. So here's the whole evaluation sheet, same structure as before, title at the top, and then the guide. The sheet consists of the guide and the ballot at the bottom. And then next slide, please. And the judging criteria on the back. Remember to read it before every contest to get your refresher. And there's your, I didn't mention it last time, Judges Code of Ethics, which was covered in the slides earlier. Now we go through the slide in detail. Next slide, please. So this is the guide and the kind of thing that you need to look at. We've covered what the items are on the guide, the judging items and the percentages, etc. Analytical quality. I always evaluate the speech that I'm going to be judging the evaluators of. So I do the evaluation myself. I would use the icebreaker page 2, the icebreaker evaluation sheet page 2, and I would evaluate on that. And there's plenty of space at the bottom for extra things like humor that you could put if it occurs. So having done that, you then compare it with what the speaker is giving, what the contestant is giving in their evaluation, and I mark up if they covered everything that I've covered and more. If they've missed vital things, then I mark them down. Then recommendations for every point where I think for every point that the evaluator has said, that the contestant has said is weak, I want to hear a recommendation, but no more than 3. 1, fine. 2, okay. 3, just be careful, but no more. And then mark them down if they start giving too many recommendations. Technique, you want to see sympathy, empathy with the evaluator, showing that with the speaker, and giving them words that are of encouragement so that they will go away, improve, and want to come back. Then summation, interesting. If there is no summation, don't give any marks. I advise all speakers to say in summary, so there's no doubt that they are summarizing. And in that summary, I would want to hear something like a good speech, watch your body language, watch your vocal variety, but loved your message, and I will take that away with me. That's the kind of summary that I'd like to hear. And then at the bottom, next slide please, at the bottom is the ballot, the same as before. There it is. Total up and add first, second and third place, and then submit it as you are instructed on the night. Okay, so now we go away and into our breakaway rooms. No, we have
Sorry,
so,
can we?
sorry.
Tim. Can we please, can you please have Tshwane Claude to do the evaluation of the prepared speech, and then we can judge her with what Tim just shared with us. And afterwards, then we can go back to our breakout rooms and we can discuss. Thank you so much, Tshwane. Please help me welcome her to the virtual stage.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The most interesting aspect of Ditsego's speech is that she was able to keep her eye contact with us. How the speech was done, we got to learn Ditsego. I got to know Ditsego at work, and I also got to know Ditsego at home. I liked how she used her hand gestures, especially when she was saying the introvert was written in her forehead with big letters. Although there were times where I felt like there were too much hand gestures which were not meaningful, though I could see them at the bottom. I suggest that when you said in your closure, when you said in the forehead, when you repeated, it was nice with big letters. And now I wish I can be an introvert. The forehead should be written with small letters. I wish you could have shown that head gesture because you showed us the big one. And I also suggest that you have vocal variety, because I feel like there were points where you could have emphasized your point by having pauses in between your sentences. In summary, I liked how you presented your speech, how it was done, because I got to know who is Ditsego. I got to know Ditsego at work, and I also got to know Ditsego at home. Remember to improve on your hand gestures so that they can be meaningful, and also look at your vocal variety so that you can emphasize your point by having pauses and speaking softly when necessary, especially when you spoke about being an introvert. Thank you. I look forward to your next speech.
Thank you so much, Tshwane. Anke, will you please help us to the breakout rooms? Welcome everyone back to the main room. We are now having our feedback session of the breakout rooms that we just had. Sunati, would you like to start for us again?
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone. The group was amazing, engaged. I love the fact that everybody brought their different ideas. Everybody agreed the analytical quality was great. She motivated the group, so everybody loved the fact that she was motivational. And then the feedback was on the technique, she was sensitive, and she was sensitive and motivational. Yeah. And then on the recommendations, actually, specifically, that's where there was a challenge, where the recommendations were not specific enough. And so then the team agreed that they would rate it slightly lower because of that, because they were not specific. And then we went into the summary, where also there was new content introduced in the summary. So that also made them mark them down a little bit, because we can't introduce new content. But overall, the evaluation we feel was good, but it's just those elements, new content in the summary made the points go down, and then not specific enough in the recommendations on how the person can improve, made them mark them down a bit. That's the feedback.
Thank you so much, Sunati. Rebecca, would you like to take the second slot?
Oh, I thought that you would change this time. Thank you, Estelle. I had an amazing team of judges. In terms of the analytical, they said that the strengths and weaknesses, they felt that the evaluator could have done it better. So we would rate the person good because it was not really clear and logical the way we would have wanted to as judges. In terms of recommendations, there were too much recommendation. It was more than, I think they counted to about 5. And they say that if there are too many recommendations, it might seem negative. It might be clouding the judgment, and we wouldn't actually rate our evaluator higher on that. In terms of the technique, yes, it was inspiring, it was sensitive, and it was, yeah, encouraging, but also because it was too much, we wouldn't rate excellent, but we would rate good. Did we summarize at the end? Yes, we would definitely give a rating for there, but for introducing new aspect, we wouldn't rate our evaluator more. So it was an amazing team. So if we had to win, this team would be the winners. Thank you, Estelle.
Thank you, Rebecca. I'm in Rebecca's team, by the way. Tim?
Yes.
Tim, would you please give us your feedback? You are on mute. Had to happen to someone.
There we are. Thank you. Sorry about that. So looking at my notes, we covered most of those things, but I'm not too sure I've got too much to add other than we wanted to see a better opening and a conclusion, that it was just pretty flat all the way through, and the evaluators felt that we felt that the evaluators should have picked that up. Then recommendations, agreed there were too many. One thing we did stress was the sandwich principle, which is that you're required to give a few good points, then 1, 2, or maximum 3 development points with plus a clear recommendation. We'd like to have seen that structured that way, ended up with the best point of all, the sandwich principle. And then, as was said, the summary contained more information than was in the body. It should be just a summary of what's in the body of the evaluation. Those are the things that we picked up from the evaluator.
Thank you so much for all of your feedback. Our new item on the next item on the program is our table topic theory, which Tim will be leading. Over to the virtual stage for you, Tim.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I need the sheet. So it's hard enough without my notes. But have you got the table topic sheet, please?
Do you have it, Sonate? Perfect, thank you.
Okay, next one. There we go. So there's the table topic sheet. Again, very similar to the other, same structure as the others, and very similar to the International Speech Contest. Speech development and effectiveness are there. The mental block. The one that is speech value is not. the speech value is not there, and under delivery manner is not there, so we don't have those two, but the rest are there, and the principles are the same, although it's very difficult to have a very good structure with a topic, with a table topic, but nonetheless that's what we look for. So let's have a look at the sheet, the guide first. Oh, sorry, there's the criteria, and I stress read them before each contest you go in, you are judging in. But the same explanations, they'll be familiar to you. Next slide, please. And so here we have content, speech development, exactly the same. You're looking for the person to put together an opening and a body and a conclusion in a topic, which is a bit of a struggle, but nonetheless, if they do it, mark them high. And if they got support material, excellent. And then effectiveness, are they getting their point across? Look at the audience. Ask the question of yourself, are they getting the point across? Next slide, please. And then delivery, physical, are they managing to fit in gestures and eye contact with this speech and voice. Is it flexible and is it clear? Appropriateness for language, exactly the same. Does it fit the audience? Does it fit the subject? Highfalutin, mark them down. Nice and clear, mark them up. Correctness, is it correct grammar? Is it correct pronunciation? Exactly the same. Next slide, please. And then the ballot, exactly the same. Okay, let's have a topic.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that. Our table topic volunteer today is Matsia Matsi. Can you maybe spotlight him, Anka? Perfect. Thank you so much, Matsia, for doing this. Your table topic that you have to do is, what is your most prized possession? What is your most prized possession? Over to you.
Thank you, everyone, and our audience and the members of the Toastmasters. What is my most prized position? I will say is my book. I've been reading books for some time. And which book must I tell you about that I must say have really made a major impact on my life recently? It is the book written by O.G. Mandino, the greatest salesman in the world. You might think that the book is all about selling, but which it is about selling. But the book is about everything that we need, because as humans, it starts very slowly and explaining that we are nature's greatest miracle. And we need to drink a cup of action each and every day. And it also further explains that we must laugh at our challenges and struggle, because after all, nothing lasts forever. Why worry so much about yesterday and worry so much about tomorrow? Because tomorrow and yesterday are lie very down. They we're never sure whether tomorrow will come. Or can the sun of tomorrow, can the sunset of tomorrow rise today again? Or yesterday rise today again? That could never happen. So I must say that's what has changed my life, and also that was the greatest position, the greatest thing that I had to have in my position. Even though after reading a lot of books, I couldn't find any of those books that they say has changed someone's life. But I must say, of Mandino, the greatest salesman in the world. I urge you, everyone here today, if you haven't read that book, go and read the book. Or maybe just go through it, just scroll through the book. And I must tell you, as everyone, we are all salespersons. We have to persuade and sell our idea. That's what I'm doing today. So that is the books, and the book written by Mandino. Back to you, Madam Table Topic.
Thank you so much, Matsia. We will now go to our breakout rooms to discuss. Welcome back to the main room. We now have our feedback session, and I think let's start with Tim. Tim, which would be our first feedback person.
Unmuting. Good. That we had a very good discussion plenty of time, so we covered all sorts of stuff in this case. We felt that his speech development, it wasn't fluid, and what we'd like to have seen, we'd like to have heard, oh, there's a pretty tall order, some extracts from this book. What touched me, the kind of thing we'd like to have heard and impacted on me in it. It didn't conclude very well. He needed to have put more conclusions, and so that we would have given him the probably upper side of good on the judging form. The effectiveness, we didn't feel it was such an effective speech, but we did get something out of it. So again, that would be the upper side of good that we would award for that one. For physical, he looked at the camera very well, and his gestures were there, could have done some more. So for physical, we gave him the lower side of very good, which is 11. For voice, we heard him clearly as far as his voice goes, but as far as pronunciations go, we were worried about the word, his word book. A couple of us missed it in the beginning and only grasped it later on, and we'd given it a 2 for correctness. But for voice, we gave him a 6 because he was clear. Language was totally appropriate, and gave him a 7 for that. So but we all agreed it was an interesting story about a particular book. So, thank you.
Thank you so much, Tim. Senate, I see your praises are being sung in the chat. So will you please be our next speaker so that we can all enjoy?
Awesome. Thank you so much, Estelle. Thank you to the team. I love the praises. Thank you so much. We worked very well together. The big thing that came out is everybody felt that on all the criteria, they would give the speaker on the good spectrum, with the exception of maybe the effectiveness, because they felt it was slightly better, on the lower side of good. Generally, though, the feeling was that the speaker, because the first thing was the introduction was the greetings of everyone. When you have 1 to 2 minutes, you want an introduction that's punchy, that gets to the point, and we didn't feel like we got that from the speaker. The speech felt long, because then he was repeating stuff, and the judges felt like they lost him in the process, which then made the speech development points just good, not necessarily on the very good side. So they felt that everything was a bit more average than anything else. So yeah, that's the feedback. Normal voice, physical, it was just okay. They could do better. So yeah, that's it.
Thank you so much, Shanati. And Rebecca, our final feedback session.
Oh, the awesome team was excellent, because they did not even judge on the time. They understood that as a judge, you don't judge on time. So we moved from being judges who were looking at feedback when we started, now to being expert as judges. Our speaker, we gave you more good. However, on the speech development, there was contradiction, because we just felt that we lost you a bit, and there was not clear structure. So we would have wanted you to do better in terms of that. Effectiveness, we felt that yes, it was not as effective as we would wanted to as judges, because somehow we lost you, we lost the logic, and we wanted the energy. Body language. What was interesting is that the body language, they said that the speaker was too calm. Remember, we say pause is powerful, but the pauses were too long, to the extent that it was taking away from the energy. So be careful when you are using the pauses. And we said that also, as judges, we need to be consistent, because in one of the contests, there was a situation whereby We allow Senator to speak, we allow Tim to speak. Then when Rebecca is speaking, we're like, oh, please give everybody, let your cameras be on, let us see the audience and all that. So as we are going forward to the contest, let us be clear that we become consistent and objective as well. So it was awesome, and yeah, I enjoyed. Thank you, Tim. Estelle.
Thank you so much, everybody. Round of applause for our amazing facilitators today. And now we are in the amazing position that we have 5 minutes left for Q&A for anyone on the panel. Is there any questions? Senate, there's one for you. For the benefit of international audience, can we provide a space or moment for evaluation contestants to get the pronunciation of the test speaker's name properly?
So I think then for that, right, we need to then just get the test speaker in the briefing session so that they then have the name and they have time to practice the pronunciation. So I'll add it into the scripts for the contest chair on the stuff that will be on the website. So I'll add that specific thing on the. So thank you so much. I'll add that.
Thank you so much for Mada for being part of Senote's script. Tiro, you have a question?
Yes, thanks. I had two questions, but I'll just ask one simple question. Is there a minimum for the number of judges? A minimum? Thanks.
So, Tiro, there is a minimum. I think it's 5 in the club contest, but the speech contest rulebook is your guide when you're selecting judges, because there's also rules around who can be judges. So in an area contest, if there's a representative from a club, then that club can't have a judge in the panel. So those kind of things are things that we need to then look into and make sure we are aware of. So speech contest rulebook is the most important.
Thank you. Madhav has another question, and I see Gerard also has one. Let me first just read Madhav's. For international audience, I represent Mauritius and Madagascar. Can we indicate the time zones used in our communications, please?
Agreed.
It's done. Gerard, your question?
Yes, I'm the prospective Chief Judge for Mauritius. So Madhav is my division director, and Senate and I have been exchanging a lot of mails. My question goes to Senate. We have this doubt about, we're very clear about the next contests need to be virtual. And then we had this discussion about the local clubs, and we understand that the local clubs can be either free, because if the pandemic allows, some of them want to go face-to-face or in a different format. So is that allowed? Or and my contention is we should train them into probably requesting that they do it online so that they train for the next contest if they go up the ladder. So what is your view on that one, Senate, please?
All right. So from a rule book and rules requirements point of view, the clubs can choose how they hold our contest, whether it's online or if it's in person, right? That's from a rule book perspective, that's the rules. Clubs can choose. Area and above only will have online contests because that's what the district has communicated to Toastmasters International. Online means online, no hybrid. There's no hybrid, there's nothing else. There's no options there, right? First thing. The second thing is, on terms of what we would guide our clubs to do, we always encourage that they do online so that they get the practice. We encourage that, but we don't dictate to clubs.
Thank you very much. You've answered all my questions. I'm happy. I'm a happy man. I'm happy.
And that brings us to the closing and the end of our workshop today. If you have any questions left, Please get in touch and then we will get answers for you if we don't have the answers, but I'm sure Senate has everything. And thank you to all the facilitators for joining us today and all of you for joining us today. And we will send you the recording in your emails. Have a great Saturday.